Well, hello everybody. I hope you are well. It's Tuesday morning once again. How quickly the time is going. It's a lovely, lovely sunny morning, and it's good to be with you once again, wherever you may be. Well, it's the season for graduations. Many undergraduates will be receiving their degrees in the next few weeks in ceremonies all over the country. It's a very special day. Mine is such a long time ago now, I just can't really remember it that well. Way back in 1989, we were at St David's Hall in Cardiff. And the one remaining memory I do have is that how many people were there. Parents, students, friends. It was a real day, a lovely sense of celebration, looking back over 3 or more years in university, and then of course facing the future. It was all coming together on that particular day. One thing I do remember actually, of course, was being in the queuing up to receive the degree from the Chancellor at that time. And when your name is called, you walk over and the Chancellor gives you the degree. But one thing I do remember, when he said to me, "Congratulations, now move on." There were so many people behind me. And I thought, well, that was quite an appropriate thing to say on a graduation day. Move on. Moving on from 3 years of academia into the world of ministry for me, and many others, of course, were following different callings in their lives. Moving on, not always easy to do, is it? Sometimes it's difficult if we've lost a loved one to move on from that sense of loss and sadness. Sometimes there can be disputes and arguments with sometimes really old friends that have left us feeling a little bit bereft and disillusioned, and it's been difficult to move on. Relationships have been marred and it's not quite the same. We look around a world where there's so much dispute and the need to move on from situations, political situations, international situations. We know that moving on sometimes is a real challenge in many different ways. Reading Psalm 121 this morning, the psalmist says, "I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills. Where does my help come from?" He asked the question, where does my help come from? Obviously, if he was looking up, he'd been previously looking down. Perhaps the thoughts in his mind was sadness and uncertainty about the future, but now he looked up to God and he knew that the God who was faithful would be with him. The psalm also says that he who watches over you neither slumbers nor sleeps, and that's a great thing to know, is it not, when we're in the midst of situations of uncertainty. Where do I go from here? I would encourage us today to move on, to remember with gratitude perhaps those we have loved and lost a while. The memories will remain, and those memories will be a source of blessing, comfort and peace, remembering that we move on and God is with us, comforting us and blessing us and giving us the assurance of his presence. Perhaps the time has come to pick up the phone and to be reconciled to those perhaps we have fallen out with, remembering that life is indeed short, and perhaps one day it'll be too late to heal old divides. God says, in the midst of all the storms of life, I will be with you. And that's a comfort and that's a help to us, enabling us to move on. It was the Apostle Paul who at the end of his life writes to Timothy, and he says, "I have run the race, I have kept the faith." And perhaps we too can look back with gratitude today and know that the presence of God has led us to this very moment in time, that he enables us to move on from here, to go on, knowing his constant love and care to each new day. And that is something I'm sure that will be a blessing to us. So dear friends, let's remember that. Walk on with hope in your heart, the old song says, and you never walk alone. Of course we don't. That's the God who in Christ has loved us. And Jesus gave that confidence to his disciples when he said, "I will be with you, even to the end of the age." So how do we move on? Well, by making the decision to move on. Pray. Ask God to help you, and he will. And to be sure that you will have the confidence and that grace and that help to face each new tomorrow. Well, dear friends, the sun is shining. I've got to move on now. We have a service in Greenfield later on today. If you're incidentally around about 10:30, come and join us. We'd be delighted to welcome you. And pray that the Lord will bless you and enable you, like the psalmist, to lift up your eyes and know that your help and strength comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and of earth. I pray the Lord will bless you, and I pray you will know his countenance and grace. And the words of Jesus, I am with you.